Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and this is the last blog of 2024. We're going to take a look this time at the week of December 30th through January 5th, and I'm going to try to squeeze in the month of January too, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I need to still do the annual blog. So that's something to look for in the next few days. So I want to talk a little bit this week. On Monday, today, we've got a new moon in Capricorn at 10 degrees. We've got Venus going into Pisces, where she's really happy in exaltation. And we've got that second hit, Mars retrograde opposite Pluto. A couple other things I'm going to talk about this week. And then in the month of January, we do have some activity going on there. In particular, we have the third hit of Saturn semi-square Pluto right around Inauguration Day. And then also the nodal axis is changing signs. So that's going to be for a year and a half. North node going into Pisces, south node into Virgo. And then at the end of the month, Uranus will go direct. So a lot of stuff to cover. So really quick, the Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog I've been doing for several years now on YouTube. If you're a YouTube, if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, I'd really like you to become a follower. And, I have a lot of followers. Don't forget to turn your notifications on so that you know when I post the blog, because otherwise you're going to miss it anyway. So you got to make sure you do that. Also, it was a podcast long before it was a video blog. So it's still available on podcasts. Just look up Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast. It's put out there by Buzzsprout. There's about 20 of them that pick it up. I know Apple does a podcast. So, you can find it there. Also, it has its own Instagram page. So if you have an Instagram account and you want to become a follower there, the link for the blog will show up in your newsreel there every Monday. And also sometimes I do post additional comments on Instagram. And then the other way you can always find it is on my website. That's www.astrologicalwinds.com. It's embedded there into the blogs tab on the top. The past blogs for the last couple months or so are there too. So if you need to refer back to a monthly or some other one and check it out, it's all there. That also has all the information for my professional services. I'd really like to be your professional astrologer and help you out in your life. My menu is there, the types of services I have there. I'm looking for students too, if you're interested in astrology and learning. If you have a group that's looking for some kind of astrology event, like a workshop or class, please get in touch with me. My email directly is mattthue823@gmail, but you can contact me through the website. And anyone who'd like to give a donation to the blog, there's my Venmo and cash handles. Any little bit you give is so helpful. It actually does cost me a little money to put the blog out. Okay, don't want to turn it into an infomercial too much. I know. And I will give that information at the end. But like I said, the website is just really a great resource for all that information too. All right, you guys. So we're at the end of the year. It's been quite a year, huh? And I'm going to tell you, you don't want to miss my annual blog, which will be coming up probably sometime later this week, because 2025 is even going to be a bigger year. Okay, there's a lot of things shifting in 2025 with the outer planets. But let's talk about first this new moon in Capricorn that starts off this week. It's at 10 degrees of Capricorn. So you want to go to your chart and look where 10 degrees Cap is. And whatever house that falls into, that's where the new planting, the new seeds are going to be planted best for you. Remember, under a new moon, it's always a cycle of a start of planting new things. So if there's any shifts going on in your life right now and you're ready to plant new things, this is the time to do that, a very potent time. So, the new moon, this new moon in Capricorn is pretty pure, actually. And what I mean by that is it's not making any other exact aspects to anything but the conjunction to the sun, which is what a new moon is, right? You guys all knew that, right? The moon is conjunct the sun in a new moon. That's why we can't see the moon, right? Because it's behind the sun when there's a new moon, right? Oh, it's all making sense now, right? Yeah. Anyway, so there's no other aspect. So it's a very pure new moon. And actually, the ruler of this new moon, since it's in Capricorn, is Saturn, which is actually what the next aspect of the new moon is a moon sextile Saturn. So when Capricorn comes in, it's not a super emotional sign. It's a sign that the moon really actually struggles in traditionally. It's one of the signs that the moon is weak in. The emotions feel very restricted when we're feeling Capricorn energy. We feel like we have to restrict them, possibly, that we somehow may have to limit emotion. See, one of the things about Capricorn is is wisdom. There's a strong power base of wisdom that Capricorn is very in touch with all the time. And so that's why it's very serious about things, like it's always tapped into this deep wisdom and knowledge. But the problem with that is when we're always relying on wisdom and knowledge, that's stuff that, we've learned from the past, right? It's stuff that we've experienced in the past. And that's where a restriction can come in, because the moon and the emotions wants to, feel things out that are new into the future, things like that. So like, it's more adventuresome, and like what Capricorn wants to do then is restrict that emotion. It almost can look at emotion, especially when it can get intense or passionate, as being dangerous, as being out of control, as being a threat to its security. So that's why when the moon's in Cap, we all kind of circle our wagons emotionally. We kind of get quieter. We don't really talk too much about our emotions. Most of our communication is based on practical things, on things that we want to see results from. So we kind of are holding back a lot of emotions. Now, what's interesting, it is an earth sign, Capricorn. And like I've said before, earth signs have something very much in common with the moon, and that is cycles, but this is a cycle of learning how to live through cycles where there can be limitation to our resources, where there can be problems with our resources. So this is like a very authoritarian new moon. We become authoritarian ourselves naturally. How are we doing that? We're trying to control things. We try to control the environment around us. We try to control the people around us. We try to control the situations around us, because that's what's bringing us the security. That's what's making us feel like, we can still get along even in times of scarcity, or even in times where we have to get our needs down to something that's very basic so that we can keep going forward. So, there's this really, like I said, really, trying to control that environment, trying to be an authority, trying to be a power in that energy. And that's what can really isolate us emotionally inside. When the moon is in Capricorn, we usually have to take care of our own emotions. That's what usually happens. It's very difficult to reach out and be receptive to other people and other ideas. Now, what's interesting, the moon going to that, like I said, it's making no aspects to any other planet. So this is pretty pure energy, right? This is like where we want to get serious and practical about something. So look in your chart at 10 degrees Cap, where that is. And that's where you want to really get serious. Like if it's in the 6th house, you want to get serious about your work. You want to get serious about your health, right? So like just, wherever it falls, that's what you want to look. Now, the next aspect it's going to make is a sextile to Saturn, like I said. So this is really going to continue that energy. When the moon is sextile Saturn, it has a very conservative, practical attitude towards things. It wants to see results of the actions it's taking in the real world. It's not interested, once again, in emotions or fantasy or visions or things like that taking us off course. And once again, it's a great time to reach out and get advice from people who have more knowledge than you or have more experience than you in those things that you're looking to plant the seeds in. We are willing to sacrifice our pleasures in the present for stability in the future with this new moon. And with it hitting the sextile to Saturn, our communications are going to stay practical. This is a great energy to work on your projects, to work on your work, on your career, on your job. And especially, if you can really just keep doing it alone, we have, do it alone with your skill and style and really be detailed oriented about it. You really can get through the details. Now, remember too, what else is happening with Saturn? I talked about it in detail last week. There's the square to Jupiter going on, that first quarter square. So this really fits in with this new moon. Is this a time where the adjustments you have to make to that grander vision that you may have seeded back in 2020, 2021 under the conjunction, they may need some major adjustments now. This may be the time to really look at that stuff in a practical way and make the moves, make those new moves, make the adjustments to your plan, to your vision. And even if that means changing the project, changing the work that you're doing, it's still okay. There's still time to do that. If that's how much of an adjustment is required, it's time to do that. And the new moon is a good time to plant it. And with the Saturn and Capricorn energy, it's serious, it's detailed, it's gonna do it. Okay. So let's try to use this new moon in a very practical way, and try to use that energy to stabilize ourselves and make those adjustments and changes, and then make some new steps in those directions. All right. Also on Monday, there is a Mercury trine Chiron. This is the third hit in the retrograde cycle. And, this is really sweet for opening up communications. We can get healing through our communications with others. We can give healing and soothing and supportive words to others, and we can get that from others too. And we can learn a lot of things. We can get information that is helpful to us, that helps us learn things, and that can be like a healing kind of energy. So that, and you can play the part of the teacher here with the stuff that you're talented with. You can be a teacher, and you can also be eager as a student, learning things that are helpful to you, like I said, and can bring a healing energy to your mind. Then we jump to Thursday, and the sun is quincunx Jupiter on Thursdays. A little bit of a minor aspect here before I talk about these last few things here on the week. But the sun quincunx Jupiter is a very enthusiastic energy, actually. It really keeps our energy very high-spirited, positive, but it can be a little bit scattered. It has like a big vision, but it's definitely not interested in dealing with the details right now. So it can kind of scatter things out. I mean, we can even adopt kind of like a privileged attitude under this energy, like I deserve this. I really don't need to do anything for it. It should just come to me. Look at how great I am. And what that actually does is it can mess us up with details again, and can have us running around trying to fix things up afterwards. So it comes across actually as a sloppy approach to those from the outside. So we want to, make sure that we're not doing that. Now, one of the great things about this, besides the optimism that it brings in, and especially over things that we have a vision, we go to action with, it can help us find new ways of approaching things, or and in the moment too. It's like almost like thinking on the run kind of thinking, that you can come up with some new approach or new solution to something that you may not have seen it that way before. And it's almost like, wow, the timing is just perfect. How did that happen? So when the situation is calling for some new way of looking at it to resolve it, this is really good energy to work with. Okay. And so also Thursday is the second big thing, Venus going into Pisces. So this is one of the three signs that Venus is most happy in. This is the sign of its exaltation. And the goddess is this is where, Venus, relationships, right? Money and finances, right? Creativity. This is the one that really stimulates the creative side of Venus, right? This is where we can really get very very artistic, where we can have a grand big vision that comes from our fantasy world, that comes from our right brain. That's an abstract, it's a beautiful thing. And we can bring it out into the real world as an artistic force that has a very creative, unifying energy to it. So this is a time when we can make things beautiful. We can create beautiful, harmonious, unifying energy. And remember, I've said this before, creativity is something that not necessarily is only art. Don't think about it just as art. It can be anything that we do that we're good with. But this can really have us bring this harmonious, unifying force or energy to our creative energy. And what we can do then is create very harmonious environments, very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing environments. Now, the other thing, like I said, Venus is about love, right? So when it's in Pisces, it's that higher love. It's the love of compassion. It's unconditional love. It's the ability to see others for who they are and be able to stand in their shoes for a while and have sympathy and compassion and offer that to people. It's a beautiful way of expressing our love. Now, what we can do sometimes with Pisces too is, because of that, it's a love of service sometimes. So we actually may be more than willing to help out those who are not doing as well as us. Maybe people who are lower in energy or luck or resources or whatever, or just in a bad state emotionally. We want to give that love. We want to give that support. Now, on a personal level, this can be really beautiful too for one-on-one connections. This is soulmate energy. So if you have a romantic interest going on right now, that could be something that can get very unified, and where you can dissolve a lot of boundaries between you and the other and really come from the same values, the same ideals, the same morals for the most part, and just really feel like you're blending together on a soul union kind of energy. So really, really nice on that. And so the other thing, on Friday, okay, now we're going to go to Friday actually. And so the Friday, I talked about this earlier in the month when the first hit. Mars opposite Pluto. So now we got Mars retrograde. It's the second hit of Mars opposite Pluto. And this is very, very powerful energy, you guys. This is very hard energy to hold. It is the energy of creative transformation, and that can come on like a fire, right? It can come on like an explosion. It can change everything around us. What happens in this, and I said it earlier in the month, we really are strong in what we believe in, and we're really trying to push that. And what happens is we get a lot of resistance in this energy, especially from other people who have power or authority. They can feel very, very threatened by this. Now, on a personal level, you want to be aware of violent people in violent places and avoid them. If you know someone that's temperamental in your life, this is not the time to be around them, because this can be very difficult energy to control. It can explode out into violent stuff if you're in an area or around a person who has more of a proclivity to go that way. So you want to be very aware of that, right? And on a bigger level, this can really blow up in society too, into huge power struggles in society over belief systems. It can lead to war or escalation of wars that are already going on. This is very ruthless energy. This is not caring about the destruction that it's making or the waves it's making. Once again, I can use our president-elect, even the things that he's saying about Greenland and Denmark and Canada and taking on this aggressive tone. That's what this is. And of course, you're not going to get a good reaction to that. No one wants to sit here and be told they're about to be conquered, right? So, what we really are wanting to do with this energy is creatively transform our lives. But it's very, very difficult, especially with the opposition, not to get into conflict with someone else over the way that can be done. But that's really what we want to do. And it can literally destroy things. This can be a bomb going off and leaving ashes. And then what's going to come up out of that later? That's how powerful this energy is. So be careful with this energy. Now, Friday, there's a couple bumpy quincunxes. The first one is Mercury is quincunx Uranus. So this is connecting the lower and upper minds again, the intellectual mind with the intuitive mind. This is very scattered energy, you guys. This is a very jumpy mind. This is like working yourself up into a nervous froth of energy, a boiling broth. And what it is there's just a lot of input coming into the mind. It can be coming from intuitive sources. It can be coming from intellectual sources that's, fanning the flames of intuition. You can get some brilliant ideas under this stuff, really have some technical visions, like how to create forms, how to like actually design things, but like it also has us very scattered. It's very hard to integrate anything coming at us. There's a lot of things coming at us at once. It's very hard to focus or concentrate and keep ourselves on one thing. So our nerves are going to be stretched on Friday. And just, be careful about being impulsive. This is like an accidents will happen day, okay? Because we're too caught up here, not paying attention to what's going on around there. So the other bumpy quincunx is a continuation of the battle of the sexes that I mentioned earlier this month when Venus was opposite Mars. Now we have Venus quincunx Mars, and very, very bumpy for relationships. Very hard to find things in common. So like the battle, like I said, it's kind of like the battle of the sexes. But what this does, it gets us very emotionally excited, and that quickly turns into intensity. And when we don't get what we want, it becomes like a love-hate battle. Like you're wanting something that you can't have. So, the energy keeps going back and forth. And obviously, this really affects relationships, especially romantic or sexual ones. There's like a very discordant energy there. And it's really easy to end up getting into battles with your friends or lovers or close ones because it's easy to lose your temper. You're not getting what you want. They're not getting what they want. So this is very indicative of a period of time of stormy personal relationships, and especially with the opposite sex. It's very difficult to find harmony with the opposite sex. Now, the other thing this can do, and this is just to be aware of this, you can get some creative output with this. It's like when you are feeling that frustration about relationships or sexuality, you can channel it into creative output. But the other thing that this can do, as far as like energy with relationships, right, is that it can get us to go for people that are not really good for us, like want to try to connect with people who may drag us down some way or just not vibing well with our energy. So that's something to be aware of also. And then Saturday, one last thing I wanted to mention for the week, and then I am going to try to squeeze the month in too. Saturday is a continuation of the new moon's energy on Monday. So this is really a good whole week to work on that new moon stuff, to plant those new seeds on something where you want that stability of Capricorn, because the sun is going to sextile Saturn on Saturday, just like the moon does after the new moon on Monday. So that's really going to continue that energy of solidity, of willing to work, of willing to put the sleeves up, work in detail, work in concentration, be a good worker, keep the emotional input mainly inside and the output of communication being mainly practical things, knowing your methods, using your skills to do what you want. And once again, getting advice from people who, or help from people who may have more of that skill than you. So this is like I said, a great continuation of that energy. Okay, let's get into January here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 things I wanted to talk about in January. And the first one is on January 8th. We got the North Node getting really close to actually the beginning of Aquarius, because the nodal axis always is retrograde, right? Nodal axis is always moves retrograde. Okay. So it's getting near the beginning of Aquarius, which is basically the end of its sojourn, its year and a half sojourn in Aquarius, and it's going to sextile, or it's getting near the, I'm sorry, it's getting near the end of Libra, and it's going to sextile Pluto, which just went into Aquarius. So, so what we've got going on here is an opportunity to connect with people that you can have an influence on, and they can have an influence on you. This is a very positive thing, you guys. This this early 2 weeks in January is really a time when you want to try to find other people that you can connect with, where both of your powers together can really push your agenda into a really big move forward. Okay. And this is a chance where you can even become a leader within a group context, or get some kind of public exposure that's good for you, that can bring in new opportunities. So what you want to look for is any new associations or groups that you are starting to form right now, and it could be just with one person too, right? It could be with just with one person, but anybody that you're forming, like some kind of association, that you have similar goals or visions, on any kind of level, personal, business, whatever it may be. This can be a very important connection for your futures. This can have a lot of influence. It can bring transformation, change, evolution to your life. And it can really help you out. It can help you realize your goals. And you can find the people that will help you do that too. You can find like-minded people to help you transform things. So very potent energy. And when you think about the new moon too, the new moon cycle of, the Capricorn, and trying to build solid stuff for the future, well, this would blend really well into that. And the Aquarius part of the Pluto is upping those systems up too. It's just like Capricorn, it's very much in the systems like Saturnian, but it wants to upgrade it into a better system, another, a better, 2.0 or a 3.0 or whatever it may be. So also this month on the 18th, we have the third and final hit of this very difficult Saturn semi-square Pluto that we've been going through for most of 2024. And I did talk about it a lot during the summer when the second hit. And really, this is, first of all, it has a lot to do with society, because Saturn is a societal planet and represents the authorities and structures within our society, and Pluto also is a transformational planet that represents those in power too, and like things having to change and regenerate. And I think really, like I said back when this second hit it, what you're seeing is like a lot of frustration by those in power, because the things they've normally used to doing and making work in society are not really working for them. Like structures are falling apart around us, abstract structures, concrete structures, infrastructure, you name it. It's all falling apart around us. And this is very frustrating. And we keep thinking, oh, well, we can go back and rebuild it the way it was. And this thing's like, no, you can't. You can't, because it's going to be blocked. And so it's interesting that this is right around Inauguration Day of our president-elect too, because a lot of his ideas are like, let me push this agenda, let me push, this is the way we want to do this. And it seems to be backing up the billionaires club a lot, and people who are in power. And, they can see that a lot of things are shifting in the world with this Aquarian energy. And what they're trying to do is try to keep it back, make America great again. When was that? Like that's the kind of thing people really need to look at with this, because it's in our faces. The structures around us, the physical structures, the highways, the bridges falling apart. A lot of the social networks and systems to support society falling apart. banking systems, things like that, falling apart, defense systems, things are falling apart and they are requiring a change. And if we're resisting that change, this is uber frustrating, right? This is super frustrating. And what you end up doing is you end up getting in power struggles with others and just constantly frustrating one another. So, on a personal level, we have to be very aware too that once again, just like it's been for the last few months, this is not good for the economy. We need to be conservative with our resources. We need to be careful with our resources. Okay. And also, what good can come out of this is the same thing I mentioned, and it could be going back to people who have lived through depressions. It builds a toughness, it builds an endurance that you can survive through tough times. But like this is going to be very, very telling of the energy of what's going on coming into this year, this new administration, of like really trying to push things in an old power kind of way. And if we're doing that in our lives, or there's any other groups, governments doing that, they're going to find the same thing. Their head batting against the wall over and over in frustration while everything continues to crumble around them, because regeneration, reformation is being required now. Okay, it's no longer a choice. Okay, the last thing I want to mention, well, a couple things. I'm sorry. Then on the 28th is when the big nodal axis shift comes. So every year and a half, the nodes, both the north and south node, which are always opposite each other exactly, shift signs. And like I said, they're always going backwards. This is an 18-year cycle. So every year and a half, they change signs. So the north node's going into Pisces, which means the south node is going into Virgo. And so that north node is where we're going towards. This, what that Pisces energy is saying, we need to unify. That and once again, the nodes really can affect society. They're bigger than personal planets. So this is like an energy of trying to find the people that you have similar beliefs and values and ideals with, and unifying with them, and as large groups, and basically trying to find people that you have in common, and I think, what's going to happen during this next year and a half is a lot of people are going to rally to communities that they believe in and really put their energy into that, that to bring. But this energy is telling us this is our dharmic assignment for the next year and a half, is to bring unity in to our lives on all levels, and to try to find the things that we share in common and work on those goals together. And the South Node in Virgo is showing us that when we get into a judgmental, critical mind, that's what blocks us from being able to unify and do that. That judgment is the division of things and compartmentalizing things, and it takes away the ability to see the bigger picture and the unity in things. So this North Node is saying, hey, if you guys don't start doing that, you're gonna, make yourselves miserable and dissolve into battles of nonstop judgment and criticism, and no one ends up happy like that, right? So this is a very big shift where we really are going to look for those others in groups that we share ideals with and want to really focus our energy for the future to them. And the last thing I want to mention is on the 30th, Uranus does go direct at 23 degrees Taurus. It will go into Gemini on July 8th, actually, and then go retrograde on September 5th at 1 degree Gemini only. And then it will actually retrograde back into Taurus next November. So we have about 7 months now of Uranus going direct in Taurus, and then it'll go retrograde and go back into Taurus again for one last little dip. But once again, this whole 7-year period, instability with resources, instability with finances. This is hitting people on a personal level. It's hitting people on a society. And what is Uranus saying? We need to do things differently. We need to do things with our resources differently. So on a personal level, Uranus going direct, you want to implement any new plans you've been thinking about how you want to approach resources over the last few months. This is the time to bring it out and do it, to put your individual stamp on it and go for it, right? But we really have to realize that once again, we need to reassess our relationship, both as a society and as an individual, to resources, and really recognize what is burdening us right now, what is restricting us, what do we need to let go of. And remember that this is also an indicator of continued instability in resources for the next year or so, and materials, even the ability to get them. So, like, trying to find something that we believe will help bring us change in those areas so that we can find the ability to have stability again is what we really want to do. But there's going to be some radical shifts going on in the way we look at resources, and cryptocurrency could be one of them. People doing farming together can be another thing. We talk about the Pisces North Node bringing things together. There's so many ways that astrology energy can be met. Okay, I've gone a really long time, you guys. I've really got to stop. You don't want to miss the annual. You really don't. All three outer planets are changing signs. They're going to be in aspects with one another. Saturn's going to hook up also with Neptune. So, like, we've got a lot of stuff going on in 2025. It's going to be a big change in the world. Imminent changes are coming in 2025. So you do not want to miss that blog, and I'll probably put it up within the next few days. Otherwise, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds Channel. This is a free service that I've been giving to you guys for years and years, and I really need you right now to pass the link along. And if you need an astrology service, I really need you to support me too. Just like everybody else is, in their economy needs support. So when you're ready for a reading, please go and check the website. All my reading information is there. If you've got a group that needs an event, please get in touch with me. We can have a lot of fun doing that. If you're a student, I've got a couple people that are interested in getting classes going live. I really could use a couple more. All that information's on the website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. There's my contact directly, matthue823@gmail.com. If you can give a small currency donation to the blog, even hypercurrency or cryptocurrency, Cash App, $ Matthew Lawton, Venmo at Matthew-Lawton, please. Any amount helps for sure. I would love to do your chart. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I'm very highly skilled, trained with that. A lot of enlightening stuff comes out of every reading I do. So I'd love to do that for you. If you need your predictive reading for the year, relationship, looking to move, you need an election for getting the timing of something right, you have a question that you need to know an answer of, fixed star readings for deeper soul purpose. And like I said, workshops, lectures, classes, question and answer sessions for groups, any kind of thing that you want, entertainment, that kind of thing for astrology can be done for your group. And also looking for students, always available for tutoring, have some podcast classes, but would love to find a couple more students and do some live classes every week. So if you're interested in that, please get in touch with me, and please, please, please send the link on to somebody else right now. Happy New Year, you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening. I know there's a lot of blogs out there. There's a lot of confusing astrology information out there. You're looking at someone who's been doing it for 30, 35 years, professionally for over 20 years. And, this is, we can use this energy to make our lives better. It's a tool. It's a tool for you to make your life better. And let's do that in 2025. Look out for that annual blog. I will see you all, and I am ready to do any kind of work you need. And if you're a professional looking for daily, weekly, or monthly readings, I'm working hand in hand with you. I do that for people too. Just get in touch. I'll see y'all next blog. Happy New Year's, and be safe out there, and may lots of abundance come to all of us.